Hey, everybody. How you
Hi.
doing? I'm Terry at Holding Your Space, and this is Sherry, Voices from the Swamp. So welcome, Sherry.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you
Y-
very much.
Yeah, thanks for
Enjoy
being
reading with
here.
you. I'm so glad we finally connected. What was it
Right?
last month? I think we finally connected.
Yeah, we finally did. So
Yay!
now we got a regular gig.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and you're in the South. You're in
I'm in Louisiana. I'm
Louisiana.
down at the bottom of the boot.
Wow. How
I'm
beautiful.
roughly about, if you could go in a straight line, I'm about 30 miles from the Gulf.
Oh, how beautiful. So you're
And
nice and
but
close.
you can't go in a straight line to get there. It's convoluted because you're going around swamps and levees and canals, and it takes three times as long to get there. And then the beaches here are not that pretty as opposed to when you're on the other side of the Mississippi River. When you're
Uh,
east of the Mississippi, the beaches are gorgeous. The water's beautiful.
yeah.
But because of the way the streams run, the Mississippi comes out down in New Orleans and it dumps into the Gulf and it all comes our way. So, because I'm west of New Orleans, and so it's the water's always muddy looking and kind of gross.
Is it like a marsh there? The
Oh,
beach?
all
Or is
over the
it,
place,
yeah.
all over the place.
Wow.
You could go from block to block and hit regular dry land, marsh or farms, fields.
Yeah.
Um, they grow a lot of rice here because we're at sea level or below, depending on where you're at. So you dig 6 inches, you get water,
Yeah.
water, water everywhere. And then just depends on the storms. I'm roughly about 3 miles from the largest land-based swamp on the continental U.S., and that's the Atchafalaya. And it's
Wow.
an 18-mile bridge to get across it. And on the other side is Baton Rouge, the state capital. And then about 2 more hours east is New Orleans. Um, so I'm over closer to the Texas border. And
So just you describing this, Sherry, has such an interesting flavor to the energy there.
oh
Like
yeah,
it's really
it's
strong.
wild,
Yeah.
very wild. I mean, it's still predominantly Catholic
Yeah.
because it was the Catholics and the Catholic Church that kind of, I guess, settled this area. Um, Most of the Cajun people are devout Catholic. Um,
Oh.
your Creole people are, I think the majority of them tend to be Catholic as well. But we do have a rather large evangelical base that's been growing. So we got, you know, people like Moses Mike that everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe he's speaker.
Oh,
the
that's
people
right.
the
He's
people
great.
down here are like, oh my God, what an embarrassment. But he doesn't have a real good reputation, let's say.
Oh,
Not
and
from the same people anyway.
yeah, Lori says that bridge is remarkable drive through the
It
state.
is.
Yeah, not finding anything like it in
And
America.
God help you if there's a wreck on that bridge. You are stuck like Chuck. You can't go anywhere till
Stuck like
they clear
Chuck.
it and the roads are opened back up. I've seen people stuck on that bridge all day
Wow.
because there was an accident somewhere in front of them, and that's it. There's no off ramps. There's nowhere to go.
Man,
And
that's scary stuff. Yeah.
exactly. I know we had a bad accident on the bridge. God, this was a couple of decades ago, and two cars. I don't know how they collided. I guess one got too close to the other because going opposite directions, there's like a divider in the
Yeah.
bridge. Um, and uh, one of the drivers in one of the vehicles got ejected from their car and went like over the bridge and down into the swamp. And several of the truckers, that were on the road stopped. And this one trucker guy was like seeing this dude down in the water, and he just tossed his wallet to another guy and said, "Hold this," and dove in and went and pulled the guy out of the water because the guy was unconscious. And and everybody was like, "You have no idea how dangerous that was. You could have hit broken stumps. There could have been an alligator waiting for you when you hit the water. Water moccasins everywhere." It's like the swamp is beautiful in its
Yeah.
own way, much like the mountains are, or the desert is. It's just different, but it's also very dangerous. There's all kinds of things in the swamp that will eat you up, literally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
remember my late husband, he was quite a fisherman. He liked fresh water and salt water, any kind, flat.
a lot of
Uh,
sportsmen down here.
yeah. And he used to do Okeechobee all the time. And Okeechobee's
Yeah,
not as big as that, but it's all swamp and little
yep.
ways that you get through the reeds and wind up stuck.
Yeah, you're either in a
Yeah.
pirogue or you're in an airboat for a lot of swamp travel.
Yeah.
Because a regular boat can't traverse it. It would get caught in the roots and all the stuff that grows. Because all the cypress trees grow up out of the swamp.
Yeah.
They have roots that spread out in the water. So, um,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
it can be kind of scary,
Yeah, I bet.
especially like at night when you're crossing. It is really eerie because there's no light. If it's a moonless night, you're just driving in pitch blackness, and except for the few lights on the road. But let a couple of those be out. It's really really scary looking, and
Wow. And your family, they were all, or you come from a lineage of intuitives,
yeah,
don't you?
yeah, we're Cajun. One side of the family was from Southeast Texas, Beaumont, Orange area,
Yeah.
and then that was my mother's side of the family, and then my mother's father's side of the family, they're Thibodeaux, so they're pure Cajun, and but yeah, we have oh damn it, doing something and the box popped up and got in the way.
Oh, sorry. That was
Not
my bad.
you. Not
Okay.
you. I just realized that Book wasn't a moderator on my channel. I was like, I thought I had made her a moderator, so I was trying to add her as a
Oh.
moderator.
Oh.
And
Well, everybody's got such great comments. I was just trying to pull them in. Um,
oh, I know. Yeah,
but
I
but
love listening.
Beaumont, Texas, and your family down there, and being
Yeah.
a
I
lineage
grew
of
up and
intuitive.
down the Gulf Coast, from
Yeah.
Texas to Florida. We lived in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, from 1969 to 75,
Oh, how
and then we went
beautiful.
back to Texas, and then we went back to Florida. And then my mom came to Louisiana, and by that point, I was engaged, I guess you could say, to my late husband, and there was just no work in Florida, so we came to Louisiana
Yeah.
since I had somebody I could stay with until we could get on our feet, and
Smart.
we wound up just staying here. And he was originally from Mississippi, so uh, all my in-laws are in Mississippi on the coast. But yeah, we uh, my mom had wandering feet. We never stayed in the same place long. Even if we were in the same city, we'd move a dozen times. She just had to pick up and move and go somewhere different. That
Wow.
was just her personality. And which is why it's probably so hard to get me to move. Once I get somewhere and it's like, okay, this will do. I'll
I'm
stay
done.
put for now because I hate to move.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
moved around quite a bit. I don't like moving, but I like seeing new places. And now I'm done. I did that when I was younger. Now I'm done. I'm just,
Yeah.
yeah. Once we started having kids, I was like, okay.
Well, I
I'm
think
sticking
that's
around.
why my husband and I wound up settling here in Lafayette because we'd been here about a year when we made it official and got legally married. And about 3 weeks before the wedding, we discovered I was pregnant. And so we just stayed put, you know.
Yeah.
And and Lafayette became home. My son was born and raised here. And
Oh,
he's lived a few other places. He's been around the world because he was in the Navy, but this is home for him. So uh,
the-
there are there are times when I think, wouldn't it be nice to go somewhere different? Maybe somewhere with a blue, maybe like a blue state instead of a
yeah.
red state. Um, I lived in Phoenix for 10 years, so I'd never been out west, never seen the desert, never seen mountains, um, except in pictures, you know. And I moved out west and I loved it. I was out there for 10 years until my mom's health got so bad I had to move back home and take care of her. So, but sometimes I miss being in the desert. I don't miss the lack of rain. As much as I bitch about the rain, I like it when it rains. And
Yeah.
and I don't miss the color green. When I was out west, I was always like, is everything has to be brown?
Yeah.
It's like,
That
can
was
there be another color?
That was kinda me too, when we'd go visit, like, Santa Fe or something. It was so beautiful, I loved it, but, I like green, and I like a change of seasons, and we lived in Florida, and that was beautiful, but it was, the East Coast, which is completely different than the
The
Panhandle
West.
and
I've
West.
lived in the Gulf Coast, Florida, and I lived down by Disney World in Florida
Oh,
on the Atlantic side.
yeah.
So yeah,
That's nice up there. Yeah.
it is. The Gulf Coast area is far more beautiful
Mhm.
just because you don't get all of the ocean trash that you do from the Atlantic. And
Yeah.
that's just because of the size. Um, but with all the oil spills we've had in the last, 50 years, it's a fight for them to keep the beaches as nice as they do
Oh,
because the oil
sorry.
gets in there and just ruins it. Um, I know with us, all of the marshlands that bleed out into the Gulf from Louisiana, anytime there's a major oil spill, it devastates the marshlands because they can't. There's nothing to absorb that oil before it gets into the marshes, and
Yeah.
then it kills the marsh grass, kills the animals that live in that atmosphere right there in the biosphere. So, um, I know I work at the university, and we have a really large and very active um, ecological departments and whatnot. Uh, USGS has a building here where students intern with them
Oh,
and
nice.
they do major research and stuff on the wetlands and in the marshes and all that kind of stuff. I don't know diddly about it, but it's nice to know there are people that really are concerned and trying to do something about it, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
I,
Hopefully oil and gas have more money.
oh gosh, yeah. I've always kind of wondered about the wetlands going forward, with climate change and how that's gonna change the look of the country and more
It's
marshlands
killing a
and more
lot of them off.
wetlands.
It's
Yeah,
because the water gets too hot.
yeah,
And I mean, the water starts getting hot and it starts killing off all the plankton and all the little small thingies that grow or live in that biosphere
yeah,
because the heat, it won't survive the heat, much like it does in other areas where you have large coral reefs. because the water is starting to get too hot. It's killing off coral reefs. Um, they say the Great Barrier Reef over Australia way is dying like crazy. They're trying to do all kinds of things to try to preserve it, and protect it, because it actually protects the land and what gets to the land.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a big deal. So we were kind of going to talk about that for a minute here, you guys, before we start doing questions, but about what we do for protection. So that's kind of the title of this is Behind the Veil,
yeah,
and like how we can protect ourselves before we leave the house, or
exactly.
before we kind of just, even if we're not leaving the house that day, before we start our day. And
Yeah. I
yeah.
want to answer one thing Lori put in
Okay.
there. I can't remember how many miles of the shoreline is no longer there. We've been losing roughly 1 football size area of land a day of marshlands.
Oh my God.
That is just the water, between the heat of the water and the encroachment of the water levels getting higher slowly. I mean, if you believe what Edgar Casey says, Arkansas is the new coastline eventually, or maybe even north of that. We're going to all be underwater. So I can see that happening. I mean, it's really kind of scary how all of the climate change and everything affects things that you don't really think about until it starts affecting them. And then you're like, oh my God, what are we going to do?
Yeah. Well, and then if you look at like there's a lot of ProPublica did a really nice climate map too. It was actually a university that did it, but then they published it a few years back, and it's quite interesting too. Casey's, because I'm in Kansas City, and he shows that the Great Lakes kind of empty into everything, and the
You're
Mississippi.
in Missouri, right?
Yeah, I'm in
Kansas,
Missouri. Yeah,
Missouri.
yeah,
Okay.
and
I know there's 2 Kansas cities. I was like, wait a minute.
yeah,
Where is she?
I'm in that
When you
one.
said Great Lakes, I went, Missouri. Okay.
Yeah, and so St. Louis is like all marshland then. And we're kind of almost at the coast too in Kansas City. It's like a new lake there, a new ocean or Great Lake. So anyway, there's so many ideas about it, and it is hard to not go down that rabbit hole and look at it and be afraid. But
Well,
so
it's looking at it and saying, okay, now I see what I need to focus on to correct it, to make it better.
yeah,
Um, Unfortunately, down here, like I said, oil and gas has more money. They kind of win the battles on all that stuff. They're able to buy off enough politicians that it kind of uh, eliminates any fighting somebody may have over it. So, but anyway, so get back to what I spotted Lori's thing. I was like, I want to answer that. I know the answer to that one.
yeah, yeah. That was interesting. Yeah. Um, it is quite interesting, and looking at what we can do, but also um, focusing on ourselves. So, we always talked about, I feel like in the spiritual community, service to others is what's going forward. And we're going away from service to self, which was but it wasn't really true service to self, was it? Because we weren't being a community.
No,
Yeah.
the 80s became a very me
Right.
kind of think tank, I guess, for people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, because of the way in my opinion, the way that the thinking shifted from giving to others providing service to your country or your community or your state, or however you broke it down, got away from everybody, you know focusing more on what they can get out of it. What is it going to do for me? So I think it's been a slow curve back to servicing others. I mean, you go into any store today, especially like a department store or a big store, you can't find anybody that works there that knows how to provide customer service.
Yeah.
Answer questions, show you where something is, help you get something off the top shelf. I'm 5 feet tall. I can't ever reach anything up on the top shelves. And I mean, you can see me with like a pin trying to, catch the edge and flip it off. I've
Yeah.
had people come run up to me that were tall saying, "I'll get that for you, ma'am."
Right. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, I'm almost 6 foot. I'm always,
Oh, you're the one I
looking
would
up and
turn around if
grabbing
I
stuff.
saw you and say, "Could you get that for me off the shelf?" Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Lorraine says, yeah, Sherry, you just named the problem in Congress, their song, me, 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 me.
Yeah.
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 Isn't that the truth? Well, yeah. And so I think it's kind of turned around now, that it is true service to self is helping ourselves with our light and our love. And when we're growing our love
Yeah.
and our light, then that's the highest service that we can be to others, because that's when we're really able to help others.
Right. I think most people are finally getting to the point that um when that they're coming to the realization that you have to restore your health and energy, your mental awareness, your spirituality, all of the above intertwined in how we are as people. But when we can replenish that well, then we can then in turn replenish those around us.
Yeah.
I kind of learned that lesson the hard way, taking care of my mom,
Yeah.
because you tend to just want to, you do and do and do and do to the point that you drop from exhaustion, and then you're not any good to anybody. And it was learning to try to balance that, taking care of her, but also taking care of me.
Yeah.
So that can be a really difficult transition to make in your head. Um, I, I think I feel very strongly about this shift that's happening to all of us. The awareness of higher spiritual awareness, whatever you want to call it, God, spirit, divine, universe, whatever label you want to stick on it. I think it's all the same.
Yeah.
That I feel like it's just been kind of waiting for us to wake up and go, "Oh, I'm supposed to listen to you first."
Right.
It can be hard to do that when you're used to just dealing with what you want or what your family needs, or what your boss wants you to do. I mean, it's getting that balance, and I think most of us still fight that every day. We still trying to find that balance of plugging in so that we get recharged, but at the same time living in the real world with people that maybe don't believe what you believe, um, or don't want to deal with you because your belief is different than their belief. That can also be a big stumbling block for
Yeah.
people, because you don't believe exactly how they believe, so there's something wrong with you. And it's like, no, I'm just different. I see it differently. Uh, and I think it's just taken a long time for people to wake up to that and go, I believe what I believe because that's what works for me.
Right. Being
And I don't
authentic.
don't think spirit is going to punish me because I don't believe in the same named God as my next door neighbor,
Right.
Am I helping people? Am I trying to do good for others? That's what counts in my
Yeah.
book, whether if it's a short 2 sentence response to something you see online saying, hey, I got your back. You need something, call me, to actually getting out and doing public service, working at a food bank or um, working at some of the places that provide like big holiday meals for people that either can't afford a holiday meal or don't live anywhere where they can actually prepare a holiday meal. And so you get, and of course, down here, the Catholic Church is, I got to admit, that's one of their strong points. They're big on doing
Yeah.
that. And they welcome anybody who wants to come in and volunteer. They don't care what you believe in. Just,
Yeah. And anybody that needs
yourself
help.
and come deal with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're good about that. They're really good about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're taught, I think that, you know, to multitask, which is like one of the worst things you can do for your brain. I mean, it
Oh,
leads
yeah.
to dementia. And so it's just there's all these things that we're taught to do and to think this way and to think that we have to have this kind of car, this kind of purse, and um, we have to do all these things. And we're even taught that karma is bad, right? Like you're going to
Yeah.
get yours. It's going to come around and
Right.
bite you. And it's not. It's learning a lesson, which is a good thing. It
Exactly.
might not feel good at the time, but it's a great thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
If the mindset is you did me wrong or you did something bad, karma's going to come around and kick you in the butt for it, and even we say that all the time. Well,
Of
they
course.
got some karma coming, don't they?
Yeah.
And that's true in one respect, but I think it's a very overused, generic way of thinking.
Yeah.
It's not punishment.
No,
Karma's
it's
not
not.
punishment. I mean,
Yeah.
now your lesson may be to get punished, and karma is the one that's going to deliver it, but that's not the purpose behind it. It's to help us learn what our boundaries are,
Yeah.
and what we need to learn, uh, what we need to learn in order to move up to that next plane of existence.
Yeah. A
Which is
growth
what,
opportunity.
which is what I think so many of us are really aware of now and are aiming for. It's like, okay, how do I take that next step up?
Yeah.
How do I show that without being a Bible thumper? How do I show that to the people that are around me in just my attitude and the way I behave or the way I talk?
Yeah.
So
Shining
it's,
your light. That's amazing, isn't it? That's
yeah. I
being the
always
best
sing the
you
song,
can
"This
be.
Little Light of Mine, I'm
Yeah.
gonna let it shine."
I love that. I
I
love that.
love that song. Uh, but yeah, it could be a mess at times.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, that's lessons we have to learn.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So do you do like a protection or something before you leave the house or get your day started or do you
well, usually, yeah. In the morning when I first get up, go to the bathroom. That's usually a mad dash when I wake up in the
hello.
morning. It's like the older I get, the less my bladder wants to work. It's like
Yeah.
go now. Um, and then by the time I use the bathroom and brush my teeth, the coffee's ready. So I get my cup of coffee, I get my cigarette. I know it's bad. I go sit out on the patio, regardless of how hot or cold it is. And I take that first 10 minutes in the morning to just kind of sit and I don't know if you would really call it meditating. I don't go off into a different state of mind, but it's just sitting and settling and just kind of getting quiet. Runs through my brain my list of to do that day. I need to do this. I need to go there. I need to drop off, whatnot. Um, Kind of planning out your day, and if you know you're going to be running the roads, okay, what's the best route to take? Be faster if I go here, 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 here instead of here, 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 here. Like that's what
Yeah.
runs through my brain in the morning is kind of mapping out what my steps are. What do I need to do? And again, it's taken those first few minutes of just being quiet and just listening to the morning sounds, the birds that chirp early in the mornings, the crickets and stuff that chirp, because different insects and stuff will sing at different times of the day.
Hmm.
And when I got injured back in 1999, my jaw was dislocated. And so once
Oh,
everything got
wow.
put to rights, my ears ring all the time. They never stop ringing. It's so constant that most times I'm not even aware of it. But there are times when I'll be outside and my son or somebody will come sit outside and I'm like, are the crickets chirping or is that my ears? Because I can't tell
Oh,
the difference because the sound can be so loud. And then I heard someone say, well, when your ears are ringing, that's when you're getting a download. And I'm like, well, geez Louise, man, I've been getting downloaded on since 1999. Would you think I would remember something? I mean, could y'all maybe speak a little slower or
right. Yeah. Yeah. Give me a break
uh,
here, people.
so I
I
didn't know
love it.
which one. I don't know which one, you know, I guess it just depends on when I get a download, I get vertigo. I get lightheaded and I have to make sure I'm sitting down because I'll pass out if I'm standing up. If I feel it hit me, and sometimes it hits me in the worst places to be, and I just gotta either lean on something that's going to support my weight, which
Yeah.
is more and more questionable as I get older, um, and
Oh,
or sit down somewhere, just because it makes my head spin. And
yeah.
yeah, it's so. Although I've lost 12 pounds since I got COVID 2 weeks ago.
Whoa.
I don't know how. I mean, I was like, I put on a pair of pants the other day, and I was like, why are my pants falling down? I can't keep my pants up. I got on the scale. It was like, holy crap, I lost 12 pounds. How the hell did I do that? So I'm hoping it'll keep going down. That'll make my doctor happy.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
make me happy too.
It would make me really happy. Tell me about it. Tell me about
Uh,
it.
oh
Well,
yeah, I
yeah.
look in the
So
mirror
you've
and I think, oh my God, who's that fat old lady looking back at me?
oh, you are gorgeous. Please. You are
Thank
so
you. I
beautiful.
still look in the
Really.
mirror and see a fat old lady and like, what happened?
I know, right? We
I
still
was a
think we're
brunette
12.
yesterday. What happened?
It is different when we look in the mirror now, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I
Yeah.
lost the battle of the gray in my mid 40s. It wouldn't color anymore because I'd been coloring my hair for years at that point because the gray was just overpowering. And it got to the point where the last time I went and to get my hair colored, when they did the rinse out, the brown turned what they put in it, but the gray stayed gray. And they literally gave me my money back at the salon and said, look, it's not taking color anymore. You're just going to have to deal with gray hair. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll learn to live with it. And then the next thing I know, it was like young people are going to the salon asking for gray hair. I was like, okay, this is completely what timeline did I jump and go into now? Because this is an alternate universe. And then when I
Right.
hit 60, it started turning blonde.
It's gorgeous. I was gonna say your hair does not look gray. It looks I always thought it was platinum. It's
It,
beautiful.
but it wasn't until I hit 60. It was
Oh,
gray, silvery gray color.
did
When
you
I hit
change your
60, it started turning blonde. I was like, God, when I was 16, I would have killed to have been a blonde.
right. Sherry, did you change your attitude about your hair then? Like, did you have anything like, "I love myself," or "I'm
It
beautiful
took a
just the way
couple of
I am"?
years when I couldn't color it anymore.
Uh-huh.
It took a couple of years for me to look in the mirror and go, okay, it's not that bad. I can live with this.
Yeah.
And of course I kept it short, like boy cut short,
Uh-huh.
uh,
Cute.
for years. And then when lockdown hit, you couldn't go get a haircut.
Yeah.
It started growing out. I was like, I kind of miss it long. Let's see what it'll do. And so I started growing it out, and then uh, I actually have very curly hair naturally, curly hair.
Oh, how
Um,
cute.
I have to make it like this.
Yeah.
Trusty flat iron every day. Uh,
Mm.
but I tried to make it curl more so it would look more like Sheila Celtic Tarot because I love her hair. Her
Oh
hair
my
is
god.
gorgeous.
Best hair in the world.
I'm telling you, either her
Yeah.
or Danny, either one,
Yeah.
both
Oh,
of them,
yeah.
beautiful hair. And and it just wouldn't do that. It's like my hair was like, no, we're not doing that. So I started looking at pictures in magazines going, okay, if I can't do this, what's the alternative? And I came across a picture of women my age with their hair like this. And I thought, I kind of like that. Let's see how that goes. And so
It's very chic.
when
Yeah.
I was able to go in and get a haircut, I bring my pictures with me and I'm like, okay, this is what we're aiming for.
Yeah.
Don't do anything different. This is the goal.
My mom always did that. She always had the bob, and I loved it. I love that haircut. I think it's so chic.
It's a lot. I mean, except for having to do the flat iron, it's so easy because usually I can flat iron it and I don't have to flat iron it again for a couple of days before the curls starts taking over. Just depends on how humid it is outside. When it's real humid, it's an everyday thing. When it's not, then I can get them by for a couple of days. And I
Yeah.
had to start doing the leave-in conditioner because using a hot iron all the time makes it dry.
But
So I had to start
it's
using extra conditioner on it.
yeah.
But I finally got to the point where it was like, okay, it is what it is. I know this. I know I've known all my life. It's going to do what it's going to do. Don't fight it. And so I just finally said, okay, fine, whatever. And once I had that attitude, it was like my hair started cooperating with me.
Isn't it funny how your body starts listening and you start manifesting things
Yeah,
in your
you
life
start
when you
manifesting
surrender?
what you want exactly
Yeah.
without even realizing that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And the
100%.
fact that it's thick, it is thick, 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 thick. I mean, even this short, I wash it in the morning and it's 5 in the afternoon before it's dry.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I try
same
not to
here.
blow dry it because that makes it like look like you know
Yeah.
Bush City. But so yeah, I kind of like it at this length. So when I went in for my last haircut, it had been several months that I hadn't been in, and so it had gotten really long and really bushy around the ends, and so they had to go in. Of course, they always have to thin it, use the thinning scissors to kind of thin it out.
Yeah.
It was just too much hair.
Yeah.
And I know my son went from the time of lockdown up until about 6 months ago. He didn't cut his hair at all, and it was almost to his waist. It was so long,
Wow, he's healthy.
and so he went. Uh, I made an appointment for him at the beauty school where I go. I go to a school where they train people how
Yeah.
to cut hair and do all of that. And he went with me, and we got there, and they were like, well, what do you want to do? And he says, well, I think I just want to cut it off short so I can donate it to cancer. One of the
Oh,
places that make hair wigs for cancer patients. And oh my God, they all got behind it on that. He was surrounded by technicians watching him get his hair cut. Someone was filming it so they could put it up on their website. This young man is cutting off all his hair to donate to cancer funds. And I was like, see, you're famous for a day.
that's
And
so
he had
cool.
a 10-inch ponytail
Oh,
that
I
they
bet
cut
they
off.
love
It was
that.
10 inches long. I was like, geez, dude. I didn't realize it was that long because he always kept it back in a ponytail, so I didn't realize how long it got.
Yeah. Wow.
But that was kind of cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, do you want to try to answer some questions?
Sure.
Got some time here. Moira, remind us how important the moon was to our pre electricity ancestors.
Oh, yeah. We had the power go out a few weeks ago at night, like about 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
Somebody hit a transformer, blew. Fortunately, we're on the same grid as a hospital. So we came back on within an hour. But for that hour that we were out, I went, sat outside, and you just look around and you're like, wow, it's really dark. You forget how dark it is when there aren't all these lights on everywhere, parking lot lights and street lights and headlights and lights coming through the windows of the adjoining apartments, Um, and it was weird because I was like, okay, I was out there, so because I wound up not making it for a show until like the last 10 minutes when the power finally came back
I
on.
remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
Sisters or Golden Girls or one of them, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And so I would sit out and I would turn it on and I'd watch a couple of minutes and I'd turn my phone back off because I was like, I don't know how long the power is going to be out. So I don't want to kill the battery. I can't recharge my phone. And I remember when I first thought, okay, I can't do anything on the computer. I know I'll take my tablet and I'll just go play a game. To only get outside and sit down and realize I can't play a game. There's no damn internet. I can't access the game on my tablet because it's an online game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't realize how plugged in you are to stuff until there's no electricity. And then it's like, I can understand why our ancestors were so intrigued with the moon and the different phases of the moon and what it meant and how it affected the wildlife around them, um, how it affected what they were able to do or not do on a moonless night, or as opposed to a full moon or a half moon night, where uh, we associate the moon with um, hiding things in the tarot world. It's like
Yeah.
it's covering up messages. And I was doing a reading with Sylvia from Colorful Foresight.
Hmm.
We were doing a reading together, and she pulled the moon card from the Light Seers deck, and she held it up, and she was like, "Okay, what are you getting off of this?" And the first message I got was, "It illuminates everything that needs to be illuminated in that moment." Because on the Light Seers card, the woman is in the water at the bottom, and the full moon is above with the rays shining down on the water, but penetrating the water, even though muted, and still lighting her up where she was at. So it was still illuminating her, but it wasn't as clear as in sunlight.
Yeah.
And that was the message I got off the card at that time. And I thought, I never thought of it that way before. You think of the moon as it's hiding stuff. You don't think that it's illuminating something, but maybe in a way that is it completely clear yet? Because you don't need to know what completely clear message needs to be at that time. You just know what the general kind of muted illumination is. And
Okay.
learning to go with that, it changed the way I looked at a lot of different cards after that.
That's so beautiful. Yeah.
That, and I did a show with Jeffrey Right Color.
Yeah. I
He
love him.
does a thing with Nancy Jean every night. We did a show together. He was doing a one card in depth show for like an hour, and so he, emailed me and asked me if I would be interested in doing it. I said, yeah, sure. Hopefully I'll learn something because I'm still trying to figure these cards out. Well, the card we had to learn on was the Hanged Man.
Oh, yeah.
It was so unique. All the different, because, I spent time online, like looking up all the different meanings from different authors and different decks and how it's described and how the pictures look on different decks. And then when Jeffrey and I were doing the show, well, he's an artist. So he looks at cards with that artist eye of the colors, what's muted, what's vibrant, what's what's in the background. Is all the cards you drew for that read, do they all have water in the background? Regardless of the suit, do they all show water? Do they all show mountains? Are they all the same colored background? Like you get a green background on 4 or 5 different cards.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? It is like because I'm not an artist, so to speak. I don't draw or paint or anything. Quite laughable when I try. So Cash Peters is Picasso next to me when it comes to stick work.
He's really good now.
Yeah. But it was just so unique to see it through his eyes and the way he looked at the card, as opposed to the way I was looking at the card, trying to remain very linear. This is what it means. This is what you're supposed to get from the meaning. And it kind of opened it up for me to go, okay, wait a minute. I don't have to stick to the linear meaning of what this card is. It's okay to let spirit say, yeah, no, we're not going to do that meaning today. It's going to mean this instead. And it took me a good year to kind of start incorporating that in my readings, because I kept feeling like I was cheating because I wasn't following what the card is supposed to mean. And it just took a while for me to get to that point where it was, I felt okay with going with what intuition was telling me.
Sure.
Don't worry about that meeting. We're going to go with this meeting.
Yeah.
And it was the experience of when I would do that, how it would affect the person getting the reading, because it would be something off the wall to me that just like bullseye right into them.
Do you find yourself using cards less and pendulums and whatnot less and just relying on direct? Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
There are some days when it's like it seems to flow better when I'm using cards.
Yeah.
And then there are other days when it's like the cards are a hindrance because I'm getting a direct message, and it's learning to hi, Miss Darrow D. That's the love of my life, my sweetheart. He and his husband are just divine people. I love them to death.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And but it was learning to just go with it. Miss Tarot D helped me with some of that. Actually, we had a discussion one time about reading the cards and just going with what you're feeling and stuff. It was like, okay, I'll give that a shot. Let's
Yeah.
see what happens. But now it's afraid.
Yeah. Lorraine has a great question here. Sherry and Carrie, were you afraid when you first realized you had the gift of intuition or
Well,
no?
when I first realized it, I was about 5. And I thought I was just talking to God and he was talking back. I heard the voice, clear as a bell, very masculine, deep, think Darth Vader voice, right? And just that was God. God was talking to me. Okay. And that continued for a couple of years, maybe from like 4 to 6, right in that area. And then the voice just kind of stopped, or I quit listening. I don't know which. When I was 9, is when my mother discovered that I had the family gift, because all the women in the family have it. It's different for each one, but we all have it. And we had gone to visit friends in Florida. It was before we moved there. We were in Texas. And we arrived in the middle of the night. And when we walked in the door, the first words out of my mouth were, "Oh, I've been here before." Everybody was like, "No, you've never been here." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I have." And I proceeded to describe the entire house while standing in the door frame of the front door. Whose room was who, what color it was, what furniture was in. I knew everything, the whole layout. And I just remember my mother looking at me and going, "Oh, you have the gift." That's all she said. Not another word was ever spoken. And I didn't think to ask anything about it. I just was like, okay, it's not bad that I could do this then, you know. When I was 12, I discovered I could astral travel. I could leave my body and float on the ceiling and look down at myself.
Yep.
But I wouldn't leave the room. I was terrified I'd get lost.
Yeah.
And then what would happen to me on the bed
Yeah.
if the other me floated away and got lost? Because I'm terrible with directions. And then that lasted for a couple of years. And I think I just kind of got bored with doing it because I didn't do anything. I just floated and it was like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of shoved it in the closet and pretended like it didn't exist. And every now and again, it would kick the door open and poke me with something. And I'd push it back in and no, 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 you're not real. You're not real. Go away.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Phoenix, I lived like a mile from one of the closest reservations there. And so I would go over on the reservation to buy cigarettes because they were a ton cheaper than they were in town. And so I got to be friends with the guys that ran the store from the local tribe. And I went in one day to get cigarettes, and one of them was like, "Oh, we've got calendars we did this year for our special customers." I'm like, "Oh, well, how much do you want for it?" He says, "No, no, it's free." He said, "All the artwork in the calendar is from the local artist of our tribes around here." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And so I got the calendar, I brought it home. My mom was staying with me for a while in Phoenix. And as we're looking through the pictures on the calendar, one picture just literally reached out and grabbed me by the throat. And I heard clear as day in my head, "We're your guides." I was like,
Wow.
I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what I didn't know. I was like, okay. I just knew the picture was important. And my mom picked up on the picture was important. And so she snuck a picture out of the house and she worked at Joann's. And at that time, she was working in the framing department. So she took it and she had it matted and framed in this huge uh, picture frame. And it's up on my wall. It's first thing I see in the morning, last thing I see at night are my guides. I don't know their names. They've never, the few times I've asked, I was just told you can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
just the guides. I can live with that. And but different people that have seen the picture all see different things in the picture. It's like looking at something in a dream. The way it's
Wow.
painted, it was like a watercolor, I believe. Uh, and it's a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
And,
Sounds amazing. Yeah.
and I started having little things happening to me while I was in Phoenix. One of the big things was I walked away from the church. It was like, okay, I can't deal with you people anymore. Y'all are crazy. I literally walked away. And as I did that, I started, that's about the time all the ghost hunter stuff started coming out on TV.
Yeah.
And I've always been intrigued with the paranormal.
Mhm.
And I started watching those. And then internet radio was just starting right about that time. It was like mid 2000s. And there was a network called Para X. Um, and they had shows that were psychics, ghost hunters, cryptid hunters, all kinds of stuff. Just any kind of thing in that spectrum that you wanted to listen to. They had somebody coming on and doing a show about it. And I started listening, and that's little things started kind of coming back awake. Then I moved back to Louisiana, take care of my mom. Uh, her dementia got to the point that she couldn't live alone anymore.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And when I came back again, that door kept trying to push itself open. I kept pushing it back and shutting the door. Like, no, I can't deal with this. I'm taking care of my mother. Go away, you know. And then she passed. COVID hit, lockdown, all within a 6-month time period. Just boom, boom, boom.
So sorry.
And thank you. When lockdown hit and I'm stuck at home, I was not in a good place emotionally, spiritually, mentally, nothing. Just started channel surfing on YouTube. And one day, a reader that did political tarot popped up, and it was progressive political tarot. I was like, oh, I didn't know such a thing existed, you know.
It's pretty
Started
exciting.
watching, which led to this person, which led to this person, which led to, you know, it was like as I started watching the videos, more and more channels were getting introduced into my feed. And I started watching, and it was probably a good 6 months before I ever chatted. I just watched, I lurked, as
Yeah.
Lisa likes to say. Um, One day I finally started chatting, and everybody was like, well, we've been waiting for you to say something. I was like, you know, I was here. Oh, yeah, we knew you were here. You're psychic, you know. I'm like, no, I'm not. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, you are. You're psychic. You're a reader. Angela Cardamancy Mesquite, she was like, you need cards. I said, I don't have cards. I don't know how to do those. She's like, give me your address. And she mailed me a deck of tarot cards.
Oh, how
And
sweet.
she was like, I was like, okay, now I have them. What do I do with them? She's like, just watch. When they're doing a reading, you do your cards and see if you get what they get, or
Yeah.
it matches what you're doing. And that's kind
Yeah.
of how I started learning. And then uh, that lasted for about a year. Didn't I didn't do or say anything, and then everybody kept was like, well, when are you gonna have a channel? You need to have a channel. You need to da, 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 da. And I was like, I don't know anything about that. I don't know how to do a channel. I don't know how to go online and talk to people that aren't there, and they're there but they're not here, you know. And me, I love to talk, so you'd think it would be a great fit, right? Um, and it took a little while, and then we had a hurricane coming, and I was on. She's changed her show's name. It used to be Angel Feather Sheila Angel Feather. Sheila. Anyway, I was in the chat. Scott, Spiritual Essence. Scott was on her guest.
Yeah.
And she spotted me in chat. And she said, "Oh, Shari, that hurricane's coming. Are you in the path?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's headed right for us. I'm going to do a vlog and just go outside every day and film the weather and let everybody see what it looks like when a hurricane comes." And everybody was like, "You're not leaving?" And I'm like, "No, we don't leave for hurricanes. Don't be silly." I grew up with those. We just board up and batten down the hatches. And Scott was like, "Oh, you have a channel?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, everybody, stop what you're doing and go over to her channel and go subscribe." And I went from 2 subscribers to 30 minutes later having like 40 something subscribers. And then I was like, "Okay, I guess I need to do something." All
Love
these
it.
people subscribe. What am I going to do? And so it just took a while. I slowly started doing stuff. The first live stream that I did, I locked myself out of YouTube for 24 hours because I
No.
didn't know how to set it up right.
Yeah.
And so I wound up having to go to my first live stream on somebody else's channel. Just
Oh.
put me as a admin so that I could run everything myself, and
Yeah.
she was just there to watch,
Yeah.
And so that was my first live stream. I said, "Okay, if I survive this, I can do any damn thing."
Right.
So,
Yeah.
as they say, is history. It took a while to get more comfortable with going online, and then
I
once
bet.
I clicked,
Yeah.
I love it now.
I bet a lot of people here in the chat feel the same way. It's like I know all of you are intuitive for the most part, and it's like
Yeah,
something in you is intuitive, all of you. So let me rephrase that. And it's like after a while, you get to that point where you can't stop. You're like, "Well, I know that I got that right. I get the same thing that they're getting," and you just kind of have that drive to go on, and it's fun, and you're helping people, and it's like, get so much joy out of it, so much fun.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, and it was a good year before I think it was like almost a year before I hit 100 people that subscribed.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, that was a big deal. Like, oh my God, 100 people watching me.
Yeah, it is a
And
big deal. It
it
is
is
a
a
big
big
deal.
deal. It makes you, it's very, what's the word? It's very fulfilling when you're doing something from your heart that you feel like you need to be doing. And then to have people not just allow you to go in and read with them, go in and read their energy, but that subscribe to you and follow you. And I do, I tend to be a night owl. I have insomnia most times. And a lot of
Mm,
times on the weekends, I'll just do a pop-up live
yeah.
at midnight, 1 a.m. Within 5 minutes, I've got 10, 20 people in the room.
Oh, I bet.
I'm like,
I bet.
"What? Y'all don't sleep? Why aren't you in bed?"
Yeah, I think I saw Jeff Tarot ass backwards. He does the same all the time, and I'm just not up that late at
Yeah.
all.
Well, I have to get up at 5 a.m. to go to work, and it is hard because midnight the night before, I'm trying to force myself to go to sleep because I'm wide
Yeah.
awake. But it's funny for somebody who's a night owl. Every job I've ever had, I have to get up at the crack of dawn.
Do you have time for one more question?
Oh yeah,
Sorry. Okay.
yeah.
Hypnicity
Whatever
says,
whatever you got, we're good.
okay. How do you know when you're bringing forth what you're bringing forth is not based on your opinion and ego? I question my automatic writing sometimes.
You know, there are still times when I question: is that me saying it, or is that spirit saying it to me to say? And it's gotten to where I've released it enough that invariably, if it's something that just feels like my opinion, I'll say my opinion. just my opinion, is da 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 da. And then suddenly I'll hear something from spirit say, now you add this and this and this.
Yeah.
And so it's I don't know, it's just a feeling you get. It's hard to pinpoint. It's not like one day you wake up and say, oh, okay, starting today, I'm gonna always just give spirit's opinion or message on this. It's not like that. But I've gotten to the point where it feels more like if the answer is just right there to come off my tongue, then that's not me.
Right.
You know, because I tend to want to think about things before I say them. And I find that with spirit, it's coming out of my mouth before I've even thought about what it is I'm saying. I'm just saying it. I'm like, why did you say that? And invariably, the person's like, how did you know that? Like, I don't know. I must be psychic or something. I mean,
yeah.
And then they started talking to me. I started hearing the voice again. Not the same one I heard as a kid. They're different voices now. And there's more than one. But now I hear them. And then I've actually channeled a couple of times. That was wild. Wasn't expecting that to happen, and but it was kind of cool at the same time. It was like, oh, okay, this is kind of neat. You know, you feel that energy when you plug into it. You know,
Yeah.
It's like you stuck your finger in the light socket. You know, it's just like whoa. And then I guess about not quite a year ago, the mediumship stuff started. And so that was new. It was like, okay. What do I do with this now? So that was a learning curve. And then a couple of months ago, the visions just started. Having a vision of something that's going to come up. And that was crazy because that was my mother's gift. That wasn't my gift. She was the one that would get visions. And, but she would get visions of people when they're going to die. She would see how they were going to die, like a couple of days before it would happen.
Oh, wow.
And she hated it. She absolutely hated it.
Sure.
And so I think that's why she never really talked about it, because she didn't like the fact that she would know somebody that she knew was getting ready to go, because she would see it. And he's like, yeah, that would be kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. Because it's like, do you tell them? Do you not? I know I found out about that she had that gift. She was a bartender at the NCO club right off of base when we lived in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And she was tending bar one afternoon. And a couple of the retired pilots had come in with some big shots that were there for special flight testing for a new plane. And these were two retired pilots. They taught. They didn't fly anymore. They just taught. And they're all sitting over at their table, and she's at the bar doing her thing, and the vision just hit her. And she saw the two men in the plane explodes, and they're gone. And I mean, and I know about it because I overheard her talking to her sister about it. She wasn't like telling me. I just eavesdropped.
Sure.
She was talking about, I dropped the glass in the sink. It hit me so hard. And the minute she kind of like the vision cleared, a voice on her left says, don't tell them what you saw. And she turned around and looked, and there's this man sitting at the end of the bar. It was like a long L-shaped bar, right? So the door was at the long end. So for him to be where he was, he would have had to walk right in front of her. She never saw anybody walk by her. But she looked over, and there that man sat at the end of the bar with a drink, like he'd been there for hours, She was like, excuse me. And he said, don't tell them what you saw. That's not your job.
Yeah.
And she turned. This is what she said to my aunt. She said, I turned and I looked at them, and I turned back to ask him a question, and he was gone. There was nobody there. No glass, no empty glass, no nothing. There was nobody there. And so she didn't say anything. And sure enough, the next day, pilots that were supposed to test fly this new plane were ill. Got some kind of like a viral thing. Both of them deathly ill. Well, the two trainers were there. And they were like, oh, well, we can do it. Not a big deal, you know. And they went up and the plane exploded.
Oh, gosh.
And it was like, and it was at that point that I heard my mother that night in hysterical almost talking to her sister and telling what happened, you know. And I was like, oh my God. And I think that's part of the reason why I put it in the closet for so long.
Sure.
Because I was terrified that was going to happen to me, and I was going to see somebody I knew die.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I don't want to know that. And I've not been shown that, please, and thank you very much. I don't want to know that.
Yeah.
But that's a great for people who that kind of stuff happens to. That's a very heavy burden.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times I've done readings for people. Dark person, knowing that you know.
Yeah, this is too good to pass up, and then we'll this will be the last question, you guys. Laureen or Shari and Terry, have you ever experienced a dark person knowing that you know that they are bad, evil, or corrupt?
I met one person.
Go ahead. Yeah.
One person that, and it was before I opened myself back up to this, that I met this, I don't even remember where I was, somewhere, and somebody knew somebody. He had like walked over to our party to talk, and just what was like, you know how you see dry ice, like literally like blow over the edge of a cup or something, and you just see it like creep over, and that was the energy, but it was like black. And it was, I couldn't back up fast enough. And I didn't know why. I didn't understand it at that time. And I remember he just looked right at me, and then just this weird look. And then he turned away and started talking to somebody else. And I was like, it's time to go home. I literally had to leave the party at that point. It was like, I can't. This guy freaked me out totally. And that's the most vivid experience I ever had. I've had people that I've felt maybe kind of sort of bad, but nothing like that. And it's only happened that one time. So it's like, I don't want to go through that again. That was scary. That was really scary.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've met some questionable people.
Yeah. Right.
Where it's like, where are you getting that from? You know, but overall, most people I've met or get around, sometimes their light may be kind of diminished. Because they don't know what it is that they're feeling or that they're putting out there, because they just don't know. But other than that, most people you just feel, you know, a positive vibe from. I very few people I've ever felt negative energy. You know, just like my glasses are fogging up.
Talking about it.
It's hot in here is what it is. I need to turn the AC on.
Bless your heart. Yeah, there's Lorraine, I've only seen I've seen entities that I knew that were not from this planet since I was quite young. But
I wonder if he was from another planet.
Yeah. But I did see a person that I know. He was a performer, and he's pretty well known. I won't say his name, but he was doing his show, and I just looked at him and he looked at me, and I knew, and he was smiling and singing. And then all of a sudden he kind of stopped and looked, because I knew he'd made, this is weird, but there's even a song about it, making a deal with the devil. Right.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was something that he'd done to get where he was that wasn't on the up and up, that had a dark energy around it.
Yeah.
And it was just, and I was like, and I wasn't feeling good at that concert watching him. And then when he looked at me and he knew that I knew, and it was like, whoa.
That was like that guy. Yeah. It was like,
Yeah.
he, with one look, and it was like, I guess he saw in me what was to come,
Yeah.
even though I didn't know it yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was freaky as hell. It
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, it really shook me. And that was before I really kind of came into this, but that's part of my daily thing is I'm always asking, don't let anything really bad or evil come around me. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably why I like to do parties a lot, just because it keeps everybody's spirits up. I like everybody to be happy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're really good at that too. And thank you for inviting me. You're really
Oh,
kind
you're
about
welcome.
that.
Yeah.
So
You're on
kind.
a permanent guest list now. So, and I've invited people on for somebody's party, and they're like, I've never met that person. I'm like, well, you'll meet them
Doesn't
tonight.
matter.
Show up.
Shari's there. It'll be a party.
There you go. It's more than
Yeah.
two. It's a party.
Well, thank you so much. This has been so intriguing. I just love it. And thank you,
Thank
everybody,
you.
for being here today.
I
It
feel
was a
like I
lot
was
of
nothing but a
fun.
motor mouth today.
No, you were perfect, man. This was the chat was just like, oh, da, 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 da.
Every now and again, I
So,
would remember to look over at you guys. I'm sorry. I
no,
wasn't paying attention.
no, everybody loved it. Are you kidding me? It was great. So, all right, everybody. Well, have a lovely Sunday. I know there's lots of people on today and lots of shows. Do you have
I'll
another
be
show
back at
today?
4:30. So
Yeah.
today's the next episode of Mastering Mastering Mental Wellness.
Oh,
The
yes.
new show I'm doing with Isaac. He's a professional counselor. So today's discussion, we decided to pick 3 topics and then let everybody vote on what they want the next show to be on. So tonight's this afternoon's show is what is it called?
This is what I do. I can never
Uh
remember either.
physical grounding for empaths.
Wow.
How do empaths physically ground and protect themselves from absorbing too much?
Yeah. That's
Because,
excellent.
and I thought, yeah, because we were thinking about doing that one last time, and then we thought, Isaac said, well, let's put the top 3 that we like. We'll put them up and let everybody vote on it. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
And that was strongly over what the other 2, I don't remember what the other 2 were on, but that one was the one that won by a landslide. I was like, okay, that's our topic. And then starting next month, we'll start doing it twice a month instead of just once a month.
Yeah.
And so
Nice.
I like Isaac. He's a really nice guy.
That's a great show. Yeah.
And then Monday is Draining the Swamp with Mel. And Monday it'll be Gerald, because Arthur had previous engagement. And Wednesday is Sisters. Every other Thursday is Golden Girls. Friday is Polyterology on the Cool Crone. So
nice.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I got Helen Irish Granny Tarot and Nate coming this coming weekend or the weekend after. I don't remember. I have to dig my book out and look.
I love her. Helen is a riot. God,
She's not just too much fun.
Yeah, she just cracks me up. Yeah.
She was one of the first ones I stumbled across.
Oh, really?
At the beginning.
Yeah.
She was like probably number 4 or 5 on the list. And I saw Irish Granny Tarot. I thought, oh, well, I'm part Irish. Cool. Let's watch this and see. And,
check it out.
And I just fell in love with her. It took me almost 2 years to work up enough nerve to ask her to be a guest. And when I emailed her and she answered right back, said, "Oh, I would love to be a guest." And then when I told her that, she was like, "Why were you afraid to ask?" I said, "Because you never know how somebody's going to react.
You don't. It does take a
When
lot
you're
of nerves
starting out,
sometimes.
you don't have that big of a base yet, and
Yeah.
don't know who you are from Tom, Dick, or Harry, and you're just kind of shooting in the dark. Would you be a guest on my show?"
Yep. Yep.
I said, "So you never know what kind of response you're gonna get."
Yeah.
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 So
Well,
I was happy she said yes, and we've been getting together once a month or so ever since. So,
wow. Yeah. She's
yeah,
so intelligent and funny. I like that
oh,
combo.
I love her book synopsis, her book
Yeah.
breakdowns that she does.
Yeah.
That's great. I don't have to read the book. I can just
Right?
go watch Helen.
Amen. That's awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe and like.
Sorry I was so growly today. All my sinuses are just
Oh,
in the
no.
pits. It's allergies. I live with it year round.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
today they're
especially,
just in full force.
yeah. We're going in phases here because we didn't really get much of a winter. So it's all coming back
We got
now,
a couple of
too.
weeks of winter, but
Yeah.
yesterday it was like up in the 70s all day yesterday. So,
Isn't that
uh,
weird? Yeah. Well, maybe not there. It's weird, but here it is. Yeah. We're in the 60s and 70s every day.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think it's supposed to get cold again. I don't know. I wait till I go out in the morning to find out what I'm wearing.
Right.
Is it going to be cold or is it going to be hot? Yes.
Amen. Amen. All right, everybody. Well, have a great week and a great rest of your Sunday. We'll see you later.
Thank y'all for coming.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.